The Voluntary Empire had ruled the stars for 12,000 years. They were tall creatures with gray skin and 4 arms. Their eyes were black like the void of space. They believed they were the greatest beings in the universe, and for a long time, nobody could prove them wrong. Their ships numbered in the millions. Their soldiers were countless. They had conquered hundreds of species across the galaxy. Some they used as slaves. Some they simply destroyed. The Voluntari did not feel guilt or shame. They felt only pride. High Admiral Zorth Keln sat in his command chair aboard the Imperial flagship. He was old even by Voluntari standards, with scars on his face from 100 battles. A junior officer approached him with a datapad. "Sir, our long-range sensors have found a new species," the officer said. "They call themselves humans. They live on a small blue planet in a quiet corner of the galaxy." Zorth took the datapad and looked at the information. The humans were small and weak. They had only 2 arms. They lived short lives, less than 100 years. They had only recently learned to travel between stars. Their ships were slow and crude. "How many of them are there?" Zorth asked. "About 15 billion across several colony worlds, sir." Zorth made a sound that passed for laughter among his kind. 15 billion. We have conquered species with trillions. These humans are nothing. He handed the datapad back to the officer. "Send a delegation. Give them our standard terms. They will surrender everything to the Empire, or they will die." The officer bowed and left to carry out the order. 3 weeks later, a fleet of 50 Voluntari warships arrived in the humans' home system. They were massive vessels, each one several kilometers long. They cast shadows over the human planet called Earth. The Voluntari broadcast their message to the entire human species. The terms were simple. Humans would become servants of the Empire. Their resources would belong to the Empire. Their children would be raised to serve Voluntari masters. If they refused, every human world would burn. The humans asked for time to consider. The Voluntari gave them 1 day. During that day, the humans did something the Voluntari did not expect. They held meetings. They argued. They debated. And then, despite knowing they could not win, they made a decision together. They refused. A human leader appeared on the communication screen. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes. Her name was President Chun, and she led the human government. "We have received your terms," she said. "We reject them. We are a free people. We will not become slaves. We would rather die standing than live on our knees." High Admiral Zorth watched this message from his flagship. For a moment, he felt something strange. It might have been respect, but he pushed the feeling away quickly. "Foolish creatures," he said. "They choose death. So be it." The attack came without warning. 3 human colony worlds were the targets: New Helsinki, Prosperity, and Garden of Eden. These were young colonies, filled with families who had traveled far from Earth to build new lives. The Voluntari ships appeared in orbit and opened fire. They used weapons that could crack planets open. They used bombs that burned the air itself. They showed no mercy, because mercy was not a concept they understood. In 12 hours, it was over. 17 million humans died that day. Men, women, and children. Scientists and farmers. Teachers and doctors. They died in fire and in fear, calling out for help that never came. The Voluntari recorded everything. They sent the recordings to Earth as a message. "This is what happens to those who refuse us. This is your future if you do not surrender." On Earth, people watched the recordings and wept. They held each other and cried. They buried empty coffins because there were no bodies to bury. President Chun addressed her people again. This time, her eyes were red from crying, but her voice was steady. "They want us to be afraid," she said. "They want us to give up. But we will not. We will find a way. Humanity has faced darkness before, and we have always found the light. But privately, she knew the truth. Humanity had no way to fight the Empire. Their ships were too weak. Their weapons were too small. If the Valentari wanted to destroy Earth, they could do it tomorrow. That night, she received a message from a man she had never met. He had no name on the message, only a title, Director of Project Prometheus. Madam President, the message read, we are ready. God help us all. Far from Earth, in a corner of space that appeared on no map, there was a small moon orbiting a dead planet. The moon had no name. It did not officially exist. But beneath its surface, humans have been working in secret for 40 years. They have built something there. Something that was never meant to be used. Something that represented humanity's last hope and greatest fear combined into one dot. It was a ship. But calling it a ship was like calling the sun a candle. It was black as midnight and shaped like a blade. It was 3 kilometers long and covered in technology that no other species had ever imagined. The ship had a name, Prometheus. In human mythology, Prometheus was the one who stole fire from the gods and gave it to mankind. He was punished for this, but he never regretted it. The ship carried his name because it too carried fire. Fire that would burn across the stars. But the ship needed a soul. The most advanced computers in human history could not fly it alone. It needed human minds. It needed human will. It needed human rage. And 17 million people had just been murdered. The survivors of the 3 colonies had one thing in common. Before they died, they had been given a choice. A secret program had offered them a chance to upload their minds to a secure database at the moment of death. Not everyone believed it would work. Many thought it was just a story to give them hope, but it was real. And now, 17 million human minds existed in digital form, waiting for a purpose. They were given one. One by one, they were transferred to the Prometheus. They became the ship's heart and soul. Their memories, their loves, their hopes, and their anger all became part of the vessel. They could not return to human bodies. They would never again feel the sun on their skin or hold their loved ones close. But they could do something else. They could remember. They could fight. And they could make sure that the Valentari Empire never forgot what they had done. Deep in the ship's core, 17 million voices whispered together in the darkness. We remember every name. We remember every face. And we will have justice. The Prometheus powered on for the first time. Its engines glowed with blue light. Its weapons came online. Its hull hummed with the energy of 17 million souls who had been murdered and had risen again. The Valentari Empire had no idea what they had created, but they would learn. The first patrol fleet vanished on a quiet night in Imperial Space. Commander Thrall was leading a group of 12 warships through a region called the Outer Reaches. It was boring duty, far from the center of the Empire. Nothing ever happened there. His sensor officer looked up from her screen with confusion on her face. Commander, I am detecting something strange. A ship, I think. But the readings make no sense. What do you mean? Thrall asked. It appeared from nowhere. No hyperspace tunnel. No jump signature. It is just there. Thrall walked to the sensor screen and looked for himself. She was right. A single vessel had appeared in front of them, roughly 3 kilometers long. It was black and shaped like a knife. It had no lights. It made no transmissions. Hail them, Thrall ordered. No response, Commander. Thrall felt a small chill run down his spine, but he pushed it away. He was Valentari. He did not feel fear. Arm all weapons, he commanded. If they will not speak, we will teach them respect. The 12 warships opened fire. Plasma lances shot across space. Graviton torpedoes flew toward the unknown vessel. Antimatter warheads exploded against its hull. The black ship did not move to dodge. It did not need to dot. The weapons passed through it like light through glass. The explosions hit nothing. The ship was there, but also not there. It existed in a way the Velanthari could not understand. "What is happening?" Thrall shouted. "Why are our weapons not working?" Nobody could answer him. Then the black ship fired back. A single beam of white light shot from its front. The light hit Thrall's flagship and cut it in half like a hot knife through butter. The two pieces of the ship drifted apart, spilling fire and bodies into space dock. Commander Thrall had 3 seconds to feel fear before he died. It was the first time in his life he had truly understood the emotion. The black ship turned to the remaining 11 vessels. It destroyed them all in less than a minute. It did not rush. It moved with calm purpose, like a predator that knew its prey could not escape. When it was finished, the black ship turned and vanished as suddenly as it had appeared. 2 more patrol fleets disappeared in the following week. The pattern was the same each time. The black ship appeared from nowhere. Imperial weapons could not touch it. Imperial ships were destroyed with terrible ease. High Admiral Zareth received the reports with growing anger. "Find this ship," he ordered his officers. "I do not care how. Find it and destroy it." But the black ship was impossible to find. It appeared when it wanted and vanished when it wanted. It struck supply convoys and communication stations. It destroyed shipyards and fuel depots. Every attack was precise. Every attack was devastating. Then the recordings were recovered. One of the destroyed patrol fleets had launched a black box just before being destroyed. The small device had drifted in space until an Imperial salvage team found it. Zareth watched the recording in his private chamber. He saw his ships firing uselessly at the black vessel. He saw the white beam cutting through Imperial steel. And then he heard a voice. The voice spoke in the human language, but the ship's computer translated it. "You killed 17 million of our people. We remember every name." Zoreth's 4 hands clenched into fists. The voice was calm and cold. It did not sound angry. It sounded patient, like someone who had all the time in the universe. "This is impossible," Zoreth said to his intelligence officer. "The humans do not have this technology. We studied their ships. They are primitive." The intelligence officer shifted nervously. "The ship appears to be human in origin, Admiral. But you are correct. It uses technology we have never seen before. Technology we do not understand. Then where did it come from?" "We do not know." Zoreth stood and walked to the window of his flagship. Outside, he could see the lights of 1,000 Imperial vessels. "The greatest fleet in the galaxy. Prepare a battle group," he said. 47 capital ships. 800 support craft. "We will find this ghost ship, and we will crush it." The officer bowed. "Yes, Admiral. Where should we search?" Zoreth smiled, though there was no warmth in it. "We will not search. We will make it come to us. Destroy another human colony. The ghost will appear to protect its people." "Which colony, Admiral?" "It does not matter. Choose one. Kill everyone." The Imperial fleet moved toward a small human colony called New Haven. It was a farming world, home to 3 million people. They had no weapons. They had no warships. They had only their homes and their families and their hope. The Velanthari arrived and began charging their weapons, and the black ship appeared. It came from nowhere, just as it had before. One moment, space was empty. The next moment, the Prometheus was there, standing between the Imperial fleet and the defenseless colony. "There it is," Zoreth said. He felt excitement now. Finally, he would destroy this annoyance. "All ships, open fire. Maximum power." Every ship in the fleet fired at once. Thousands of weapons lit up space with fire and death. The barrage was so intense that sensors could not see through it. When the light faded, the black ship was still there. It had not moved. It had not been scratched. Zoreth stared at his screen in disbelief. Then the ghost ship spoke. Its voice broadcast to every vessel in the fleet. It was not just one voice this time. It was many voices speaking together. Men and women, old and young, all speaking as one. You came here to kill innocent people. You came here to murder farmers and children. You are not soldiers. You are monsters. The black ship began to move. It flew toward the Imperial fleet with impossible speed. And monsters need to be destroyed. What followed was not a battle. It was slaughter. The Prometheus moved through the Imperial fleet like a shadow through a room. Its weapons fired beams of light that ignored shields and armor. Its hull bent reality around it, causing missiles to pass through empty space. It was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Zoreth watched his ships die. 1 by 1, 10 by 10, 100 by 100. His officers screamed orders. His weapons officers fired everything they had. Nothing worked out in less than an hour. 47 capital ships and 800 support craft were reduced to floating wreckage. Zoreth's flagship was the last to fall. As the white beam cut through his ship, he finally understood the truth. He understood it in his final moments. The humans had not been primitive. They had been hiding. They had been waiting. They had built something terrible in the darkness. Something born from desperation and grief and rage. And now it was awake. The Prometheus turned away from the wreckage and moved to orbit New Haven. It did not land. It simply waited there, standing guard, letting the colonists below know that they were safe. Inside the ship, 17 million minds shared a moment of satisfaction. They had saved 3 million lives today. It was not enough to balance the scales. Nothing would ever be enough. But it was a stud. Captain Yuki Tanaka sat in the command chair at the center of the ship. She was a small woman with black hair and eyes that held deep sadness. She had lost her daughter on New Helsinki. Little May had been only 8 years old. Now May was part of the ship. Her voice was among the 17 million. Sometimes, Yuki could hear her daughter laughing in the chorus of minds. "What is our next target?" Yuki asked. The voices answered her. They spoke in harmony, like a choir. The Empire has 12 major supply routes. Without supplies, their fleets cannot fight. Without fleets, they cannot hurt anyone else. Yuki nodded. Then we cut their supply lines. 1 by 1. She closed her eyes and felt the ship around her. She felt the 17 million minds, their grief, their anger, their determination. "Prometheus," she said softly, "take us hunting." The ship turned away from New Haven and vanished into the dark between stars. It was not finished. It would never be finished until justice was done. And the Voluntary Empire, for the first time in 12,000 years, began to know fear. Inside the Prometheus, there was a room that looked like a garden. It was not a real garden. Nothing on the ship was truly real. But the minds that lived within the vessel could create spaces for themselves. Places to rest. Places to remember. Places to feel human again. Captain Yuki Tanaka walked through this garden often. Cherry blossom trees lined a small path. A gentle stream flowed over smooth stones. The sky above was blue and peaceful, with white clouds drifting slowly. May was waiting for her by the water. The girl looked exactly as she had in life. 8 years old. Black hair in 2 braids. A smile that could light up a room. She was sitting on a rock, her feet dangling in the stream. "Hi, Mom," she said. "Yuk." I sat down beside her daughter. She reached out and took May's hand. It felt real, warm, alive. "Hi, sweetheart," Yuki whispered. "How are you today?" "I'm okay." The others are sad, but they're also happy. "We saved those people yesterday." "The farmers and their kids." "Yes, we did." May looked up at her mother with curious eyes. "Are we going to save more people?" "Yes, as many as we can." "And the bad people? The ones who hurt everyone?" Yuki felt her jaw tighten. "They will face justice. I promise." They sat together in silence for a while. The cherry blossoms fell like pink snow around them. It was beautiful. It was also completely fake. May would never again run through a real garden. She would never again feel real sunshine on her face. The voluntary had taken that from her. They had taken it from 17 million people. Yuk. I squeezed her daughter's hand tighter. Later, she walked through the ship to the command center. The Prometheus was massive, but she knew every corner of it now. She had spent months learning its secrets. The ship was not built like any other vessel in human history. Its hull was made of a material that existed in multiple states at once. Scientists called it quantum-locked armor. Weapons could not truly hit it because it was never fully in one place. Its engines did not push against space. They folded space around the ship, allowing it to move without moving. It could appear anywhere in the galaxy within moments. Its weapons were equally strange. The white beams did not burn or explode. They simply removed matter from existence. Whatever they touched simply stopped being. But the true heart of the ship was the central core. This was where 17 million minds lived. They were not simply stored like files on a computer. They were alive, connected to each other and to the ship itself. They could see through the ship's sensors. They could control its weapons. They could guide its movements. The Prometheus was not really a ship at all. It was 17 million people wearing a ship like a suit of armor. Yuk. I entered the command center and took her seat. Around her, holographic displays showed the galaxy. Red dots marked imperial positions. Blue dots marked human worlds. The red far outnumbered the blue. "Status report," she said. The voices answered. Sometimes they spoke as one. Sometimes individual voices emerged from the chorus. "The Empire is pulling its fleets back to protect core worlds. They are afraid. They do not know where we will strike next. Supply convoy Theta 7 will pass through the Carlin system in 12 hours. It carries fuel for 300 warships. Admiral Zorath is dead. High Command has appointed a new leader, Admiral Vestris. She's smarter than Zorath. More careful." Yuki nodded. "What do we know about her?" A single voice emerged from the chorus. It belonged to a man named Thomas Chun. In life, he had been a professor of history. Now he was the ship's analyst. Admiral Vestris has never lost a battle. She specializes in defensive strategy. She will not chase us. She will try to protect what matters and wait for us to make a mistake. Then we do not make mistakes," Yuki said. "There is something else," Thomas continued. "We have intercepted communications. The Emperor himself is becoming involved. He is afraid. An emergency council has been called." Yuki allowed herself a small smile. "Good. Let them be afraid. Let them feel what our people felt when their ships appeared over our colonies." She looked at the map for a long moment. Then she pointed to a location deep in Imperial space. "What is this?" "This station near the Velanther system." "It is a military academy," the voices answered. "Officers from across the Empire train there. It produces the leaders who command their fleets. Then, that is our next target." There was a pause. A ripple of concern passed through the 17 million minds. "Captain," said another voice. A woman named Sarah Park. She had been a schoolteacher on Prosperity. "The academy has no weapons. No warships. Only students and teachers. They are military officers, Yuki said. They command the ships that kill innocent people. They are students. Some are very young, barely older than children. Yuki felt anger rise in her chest. Children? The Velanthari murdered children. They murdered May. They murdered every child on 3 colonies without mercy. The ship fell silent. The 17 million minds processed this information. They debated among themselves in ways that happened faster than human speech. Finally, they spoke as one. We understand your pain, Captain. We share it. Every one of us lost someone. But we must decide what kind of weapon we want to be. Do we want to be like them? Or do we want to be better? Yuki closed her eyes. She thought of May's smile. She thought of the promise she had made to her daughter long ago. Be good, Mama. Always try to be good. No civilians, she said finally. No students. Only military targets. Only those who give orders to kill. Agreed, the voices said. We will fight, but we will not become the monsters we hunt. Yuki opened her eyes. The anger was still there, burning in her chest. But it was controlled now, focused. The supply convoy. That is our next target. Military fuel for military ships. No civilians will be harmed. Setting course now. The Prometheus moved to folded space. One moment, it was far from Imperial territory. The next moment, it was waiting in the darkness of the Carlin system. The convoy arrived on schedule. 12 massive fuel tankers escorted by 20 warships. The warships were strong, but they were nothing compared to the Ghost. The battle lasted 8 minutes. The Prometheus appeared behind the convoy, like a shadow coming to life. Its white beams cut through the escort ships with terrible precision. Each shot was perfect. Each ship was destroyed before it could call for help. The fuel tankers tried to run. They were slow, heavy vessels. They had no chance, but the Prometheus did not destroy them. Instead, it matched speed with each tanker and used precise shots to disable their engines. The crews aboard were left alive. They could breathe. They could call for rescue. When the last tanker was disabled, the Prometheus broadcast a message. This fuel will not reach Imperial fleets. Your warships will not move. Your weapons will not fire. You will sit in your systems and wait, helpless, while we decide your fate. Then the ghost ship vanished again. Inside the command center, Yuki leaned back in her chair. She was tired. Fighting a war against an empire was exhausting, even with 17 million minds helping her. But they were winning. Slowly, surely. They were cutting the Yair Empire apart piece by piece. She closed her eyes and returned to the garden in her mind. May was still there, waiting by the stream. Did we do good today, Mom? The girl asked. Yuk. I sat down beside her daughter. We did what was right. We fought, but we didn't become cruel. That's important, May said. Papa always said that. Being strong is easy. Being kind is hard. But kind is better. Yuki felt tears forming in her eyes. Real tears, somehow, even though she was inside a digital space. Your papa was a wise man. I miss him. I miss him too. They held each other as the cherry blossoms fell around them. A mother and daughter, separated by death but together in memory. Together in purpose, the Prometheus drifted through space, carrying its cargo of souls. Each soul was a promise. Each soul was a name that would never be forgotten, and the Empire was learning that some prices were too high to pay. Emperor Valeth IX had not left his throne room in 300 years. He was ancient, even by Velanthari standards. His gray skin had faded to almost white. His forearms were thin and weak. But his mind was still sharp, and his power was still absolute. The throne room was vast and dark. Pillars of black stone rose toward a ceiling lost in shadow. At the far end, On a platform of carved crystal sat the Emperor. He watched as his advisors entered and knelt before him. "Rise," he said. His voice was soft but carried through the entire room. "Tell me about the ghost." Admiral Vestris stood. She was young for her rank, with strong features and calculating eyes. She had been chosen to replace the dead Zorath because she was clever and careful. She had never lost a battle. "Your Majesty," she began, "the human vessel is unlike anything we have encountered. Our weapons cannot harm it. Our sensors cannot track it. In the past month, it has destroyed 43 convoys, 18 supply stations, and 207 warships." The Emperor said nothing. He waited. "We believe the ship is powered by some form of consciousness transfer technology. The minds of dead humans have been placed inside it. This gives it reaction speed and processing power far beyond any computer. Can it be reasoned with?" The Emperor asked. "No, Your Majesty. Its only demand is justice for the colonies we destroyed. It wants us to surrender and face trial. Unacceptable." "Yes, Your Majesty." The Emperor leaned forward on his throne. "Then we must destroy it, whatever the cost." Vestris hesitated. "We have tried, Your Majesty. Nothing works. The ship seems to exist outside normal space. Our weapons pass through it like it is not there. There must be a way." Another advisor stepped forward. He was the Minister of Science, an old Velanthari named Korath. His 4 hands were folded in front of him nervously. "Your Majesty, there may be one option. We have studied the ghost ship's movements. It appears in normal space to attack, then vanishes. During the moments it is visible, it must be vulnerable. If we could trap it, hold it in place, we could perhaps overwhelm it." "How do you propose to trap something that can appear anywhere?" Korath swallowed. "We would need to create a gravity well so powerful that nothing could escape. Not even the ghost ship. We would need to collapse a star." Silence filled the throne room. "Explain," the Emperor commanded. "If we detonate a star in a controlled manner, the resulting supernova would create gravitational forces strong enough to trap any vessel. The ghost ship could not fold space. It could not escape. It would be caught in the blast. Would the blast destroy it?" "Unknown, Your Majesty. But even if it survives, it would be trapped. We could study it, find weaknesses." The Emperor considered this. A supernova would destroy everything in the system. Any planets, any stations. "Yes, Your Majesty. Including any of our people who live there." Korath looked at the floor. "Yes, Your Majesty." Valith sat back on his throne. He was quiet for a long time. The advisors waited, afraid to speak. Finally, the Emperor smiled. It was not a warm smile. "Choose a system. One with a population large enough to draw the ghost's attention. Make it appear that a human colony is there. The ghost ship protects humans. It will come." Vestris stepped forward again. "Your Majesty, you are suggesting we sacrifice our own people?" "I am commanding it. The ghost ship has killed thousands of our soldiers. It has crippled our supply lines. It is making us look weak. Other species we have conquered are beginning to whisper about rebellion. If we do not destroy this ghost, we will lose everything." He looked at Vestris with cold black eyes. "The Cathany system. 12 billion inhabitants. Mostly colonists and their servants. It is far enough from the core worlds that the destruction will not affect us directly. 12 billion people, Your Majesty. A small price for the survival of our empire." Vestris bowed her head. She did not agree. She thought it was madness. But she was a soldier, and soldiers followed orders. "It will be done, Your Majesty." The plan took 2 weeks to prepare. False communications were created, suggesting that a human colony had been established in the Cathany system. The messages were carefully designed to be intercepted by human listening posts at the center of the Cathni sun. Voluntary scientists placed devices that would trigger a chain reaction. When activated, the star would explode. The 12 billion people in the system were told nothing. They continued their lives, unaware that their emperor had already decided they would die. The Prometheus intercepted the false communications within 3 days. Inside the ship, the 17 million minds debated what to do. The information seemed real. A human colony, hidden in imperial space, in desperate need of rescue. It could be a trap, Thomas Chun warned. The Empire knows we protect human lives. They could be using that against us. But if it is real? Another voice asked. If there are humans dying right now while we debate? Captain Tanaka listened to the discussion. She understood the risk. She also understood the cost of doing nothing. We will investigate, she decided. Carefully. If it is a trap, we will escape. We have always escaped. The Prometheus folded space and appeared in the Cathni system. YUK. I immediately knew something was wrong. There was no human colony. There were only voluntary cities on 3 planets and a massive military fleet waiting in orbit around the sun. It's a trap, she said. Get us out. But as the ship tried to fold space, something stopped it. The sun at the center of the system was changing. It was getting brighter, hotter. The readings were impossible. Captain, the voices said with urgency. The star is collapsing. They are triggering a supernova. We cannot fold space. The gravitational forces are too strong. Yuki stared at the screens in disbelief. They are destroying their own star. There are billions of people in this system. The Empire does not care about its people. It only cares about power. The star exploded. Light filled the universe. The planets in the system were vaporized in moments. 12 billion Voluntari died without even understanding what had happened. Their cities, their homes, their families, all became fire and dust. The shockwave hit the Prometheus like a hammer. The ship was thrown across space, spinning wildly. Damage alarms screamed. The hull, which had never been scratched before, began to glow with terrible heat. Inside the ship, 17 million minds worked together. They reinforced the quantum-locked armor. They redirected power to shields that had never been tested. They fought to survive. For 3 days, the Prometheus drifted through the dying system. Its hull glowed white-hot. Its systems flickered. But it held. It survived. When the fire finally faded, the ship was still there. YUK, I opened her eyes. She was alive. The ship was damaged but functional. The 17 million minds were shaken but intact. Status report, she said weakly. Hull integrity at 63%. Weapons are online. Engines are recovering. We will be fully operational within 48 hours. Yuki closed her eyes and laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of someone who could not believe what had just happened. They killed 12 billion of their own people to destroy us. And they failed. Yes, Captain. Send a message. Broadcast it to every Imperial frequency. Let them know we survived. The 17 million voices spoke as one. Their words carried across space, reaching every corner of the Empire. You sacrificed your own people to kill us. 12 billion lives. 12 billion names. We have added them to our memory. Your emperor ordered this. He killed his own subjects. He murdered innocent children. The voices grew colder, harder. We were hunting your military. We were seeking justice. But your emperor has shown us what he truly is. A monster who kills anyone to protect his power. A pause. And then, we are coming for him now. Tell him to prepare. In his throne room, Emperor Valeth watched the message with growing fear. The ghost ship was still alive. His plan had failed, and now it was coming for him. For the first time in 300 years, the Emperor of the Velantari felt truly afraid. The Velantari homeworld was the heart of an empire that had stood for 12,000 years. Velanthar Prime was a massive planet, 3 times the size of Earth. Its cities stretched across entire continents. Its orbital stations formed rings around the planet like jewels on a crown. For 12 millennia, no enemy had ever reached this world. Every warship the Empire could gather now defended it. They came from every corner of the galaxy. Battle cruisers and destroyers, carriers and dreadnoughts, ancient ships pulled from museums and emergency reserves. 3 million vessels formed a wall of steel between the planet and the cold darkness of space. Admiral Vestris commanded them all. She stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the sensors for any sign of the ghost. "All units report ready," her second officer said. "We have positioned the fleet in layers. If the ghost ship appears, it will face continuous fire from all directions." Vestris nodded, but she felt no confidence. She had studied every battle the ghost had fought. She had seen the recordings of Imperial ships dying like insects before a flame. 3 million vessels was an impressive number, but she suspected it would not be enough. "What are the Emperor's orders if we fail?" she asked quietly. Her officer looked uncomfortable. "He has not discussed failure, Admiral. Of course he hasn't." She turned to look at the planet below. Billions of Velantari lived there. Soldiers and civilians, nobles and workers, children playing in gardens, unaware that their entire world might burn. "We will do what we can," she said softly. "That is all anyone can do." The ghost ship arrived at midnight. It did not fold space this time. It came slowly, openly, like a predator that no longer saw any need to hide. The Prometheus emerged from the darkness and stopped at the edge of the Imperial fleet. For a long moment, nothing happened. 3 million warships faced a single vessel. The difference in size was almost laughable. It should have been an easy victory, but every Velantari sailor knew better. They had heard the stories. They had seen the recordings. They knew what was coming. "All ships," Vestris ordered. "Open fire." The fleet erupted with light. Plasma lances and graviton beams, nuclear missiles and antimatter bombs. Every weapon in the Imperial arsenal was unleashed at once. The barrage was so massive that it blocked out the stars. The Prometheus moved. It danced through the fire like a shadow. Weapons passed through empty space where the ship had been a moment before. Explosions blossomed harmlessly in its wake. The ghost did not fight physics. It simply ignored them. Then it began to fire back. White beams of light shot from the black ship. Each beam found its target perfectly. Each target died. Command ships were the first to fall. Flagships followed. The vessels that coordinated the fleet, that gave orders and direction, were destroyed with surgical precision. Within minutes, the Imperial fleet began to fall apart. Ships that had lost their commanders did not know what to do. Some fled. Some crashed into each other. Some simply stopped, their crews paralyzed with fear. The Prometheus moved through the chaos like death itself. It destroyed what it needed to destroy and left the rest. It was not trying to kill every Velantari in space. It was trying to break their will. It succeeded. Admiral Vestris watched her fleet die around her. Half of her ships were gone. The other half were retreating or surrendering. The battle had lasted less than 6 hours. "All remaining vessels," she broadcast on an open channel, "cease fire and withdraw. The battle is lost." Her second officer stared at her. "Admiral, the Emperor will have you executed for this. The Emperor killed 12 billion of our own people for nothing. His judgment means little to me now." She looked at the ghost ship on her screen. It had stopped firing. It was waiting. Open a channel to the human vessel, she ordered. The communication screen flickered to life. A human woman appeared. She was small, with dark hair and eyes that held terrible pain. Vestris had studied this face. Captain Yuki Tanaka, commander of the ghost ship. Admiral Vestris, Tanaka said. You fought well. Better than most. Not well enough. No, but you knew that before we began. Vestris took a deep breath. What do you want? Your emperor. He ordered the death of 17 million humans. He ordered the destruction of the Kethany system. 12 billion of your own people died because of his orders. I want him to face justice, and if I refuse to surrender him, Tanaka's eyes hardened. Then I will come down to your planet and take him myself. And I cannot promise the journey will be gentle. Vestris looked at the planet below. She thought of the cities, the children, the innocent people who had no part in their emperor's crimes. If I surrender him, will you spare our people? I am not here to commit genocide. I am here for justice. Your military attacked us. Your emperor gave the orders. I want those responsible to answer for what they did. Nothing more, and the empire itself will end. Your conquered species will be freed. Your slave races will be released. You will pay reparations to everyone you have harmed. But your people will live. Your planet will survive. Your children will grow up in a galaxy where your empire is a memory, not a threat. Vestris closed her eyes. The weight of 12,000 years pressed down on her. The glory of her ancestors. The pride of her species. All of it was ending in this moment. But she thought of the Kethany system. 12 billion dead. Her own people. Murdered by their own emperor. I will not fight to protect a monster, she said finally. I surrender. The Prometheus descended through the atmosphere of Volanthar Prime. The planetary defenses did not fire. The ground forces did not resist. Admiral Vestris had given orders, and those orders had been obeyed. The war was over. Captain Tanaka walked alone through the streets of the imperial capital. Volanthar citizens watched her from windows and doorways. They did not attack. They did not cheer. They simply watched, silent and afraid. She entered the imperial palace. The great doors, which had stood for 10,000 years, opened at her approach. Guardsmen stepped aside. Servants fled. Nobody dared to stop her. The throne room was exactly as it had been for centuries. Dark and vast, with pillars of black stone rising into shadow. At the far end, on his crystal platform, sat Emperor Valith Ix. He was alone. His advisors had fled. His guards had abandoned him. He sat on his throne, ancient and frail, waiting for the end. Tanaka stopped at the foot of the platform and looked up at him. You killed my daughter, she said. You killed 17 million of my people. You killed 12 billion of your own subjects. Do you have anything to say? The emperor looked at her with ancient, tired eyes. I did what I thought was necessary for the survival of my empire. Your empire is finished. Yes, I see that now. He paused. Will you kill me? Tanaka shook her head. That would be too easy. Too quick. You will stand trial. Every species you have wronged will have a voice. Every victim will be remembered. And then the court will decide your fate. What kind of trial? A fair one. Something you never gave anyone else. She gestured, and Volanthari soldiers entered the throne room. They were Vestris's people, loyal to a new order. They approached their emperor and placed restraints on his forearms. You cannot do this, Valith whispered. I am the emperor. I have ruled for 300 years. You ruled through fear and murder. Those days are over. As the soldiers led him away, the emperor looked back at Tanaka one last time. What are you? He asked. What kind of creature destroys an empire for the sake of peasants and colonists? Tanaka met his gaze. Inside her, 17 million voices spoke together, and she spoke with them. We are humanity. We are everyone you tried to erase. Every name you thought was worthless. Every life you considered insignificant. We remember them all. And now, so will history. The Emperor was taken away. He would stand trial on a neutral world. Representatives from every species the Empire had wronged would sit in judgment. The trial would take years, but justice would be done. The Prometheus remained in orbit around Velanther Prime for several weeks. It watched as the Empire dissolved. Slave races celebrated their freedom. Conquered worlds declared independence. A galaxy that had been ruled by fear began to heal. Then, one day, the ghost ship turned and flew away. It did not return to human space. It did not seek glory or reward. Instead, it drifted into the quiet darkness between stars, where no one would find it. Inside the ship, 17 million minds finally found peace. They had done what they set out to do. They had achieved justice for the murdered. They had broken the chains of the enslaved. They had proven that humanity, small and young and fragile, would never surrender to tyrants. In the garden simulation, Yuki sat with May by the cherry blossom trees. The stream still flowed. The blossoms still fell. Mother and daughter held hands and watched the eternal sunset. Is it over, Mom? May asked. Yes, sweetheart. It's over. Did we do good? Yuki smiled and pulled her daughter close. We did the best we could. We fought for what was right. We refused to become the monsters we were fighting. I think your papa would be proud. May smiled. It was the same smile she had worn in life, bright and pure and full of hope. I think so too. The Prometheus drifted through the stars, a silent monument to 17 million souls. They had given everything to protect the future. They had become legend. And across 1,000 worlds, from the ruins of empire to the farthest human colony, their story was told and retold. They called it the story of the ghost ship.